Welcome back to the Woman-H.O.O.D podcast. I have a very special guest with me today. It is my childhood bestie, Charlene. She is so amazing and adorable. Why I chose to be on this podcast is because of this full circle link called breast cancer. A lot of us, particularly women of color, if we don't know someone who's been through breast cancer or related to someone with breast cancer, or we ourselves fear breast cancer. My girl, at the tender age of 31, was diagnosed with breast cancer. Her story is incredible. Her journey of not only surviving cancer and going through cancer treatments and chemo, cutting off her hair and accepting who she is and where she was. She's also a mom. And at the time, her baby girl was like 2. So I hope when you listen to this interview, you're not only inspired by her journey with breast cancer, but we can release fear that a diagnosis is the end all be all. Sometimes when we're faced with having to deal with like some hard shit like cancer, it feels like you want to give up. But hearing her story, I hope it inspires you not to. I hope it helps you release certain fears, but also let you be in a place where you can accept being angry, but getting through it. Help me welcome to the hood, my girl, Charlene. Hi, Yonis. I am so excited today because I am interviewing my very best friend. I mean, when I say very, very best friend, I've known her since I was 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Since first grade. We have had our fair shares of ups and downs, and life be lifing with us. And this is my girl. I am so excited to interview her today because we have a really important topic to talk about: breast cancer. How it is close to me, how it's close to us. She's going to share her story of surviving breast cancer, motherhood, friendship, womanhood, because we know it's ghetto. So let's get started and welcome Charlene Wilmar. Hey, girl.
Hey, girl. First of all, that was lovely. But then you got to fix that sign right there. Who's your best friend? My period is my best friend.
Okay, you see, this is exactly
that does not say Charlene.
Okay, no, because it don't need to. Thank you.
Just saying. A little housekeeping to get out the way.
Your brows are given though, girl.
Same, yeah. I didn't see it. Hi, Yoni. Thank you for having me.
I'm so excited to interview you because I'm super, super excited. Like, this topic, it's so sensitive to me. It's so sensitive to me. And like, I've talked to doctors, I've talked to doulas, I've talked to fibroid specialists, and like, it's just so much about like womanhood that I feel as though we don't really talk about like that. I mean, we bring it up, but it's not a hot topic like that because it's uncomfortable. Like, who wants to be uncomfortable? I know I don't. But
no, not voluntarily.
So. Wrapping up like October, and I had gotten a 3D mammogram, and I check my breasts often enough, and I swear every time I feel something, every time. And I'm just like, oh God. And then so
I'm clean WebMD. You know that.
Okay.
I feel it. I'm like, oh my God.
Let me join the support group.
Yeah,
I know. Let me write out my will and take some people out. Anyway.
Right.
So the Yonis know you and I grew up in the city of Boston because we are city girls. And we went to private school. Just so y'all know, we went to private school. I met her in the 1st grade. And I literally walked into the schoolyard, and that was my very first friend. Like, how did you grow up? I mean, obviously with a fabulous friend like moi, but how did you grow up?
Yeah, so as you know, I was born and raised in Boston. Hopefully you guys don't hear it. I feel like I'm getting a Boston accent the older I get, and it's just not cute on girls. Sorry, don't come to me in the comments. But yeah, so born and raised in Boston. We're Haitian. Me and Mac, we're Haitian American, born in the States. Fellows those. So being a first generation, it was a very much Haitian cultural, Caribbean heavy influence background. So, we had that in the household. Raised by my mother and my father, who recently passed about 11 years ago, but who's ever present in all that I do and all that I am, including my daughter. So yeah, it was just us and then my older brother. Like you mentioned, it was private school from kindergarten all the way to senior year in high school. Then I went to a pretty prestigious university in Boston, Northeastern University. And yeah, I've just been rooted ever since. I've been trying to leave, I'm trying to go to know another city. As you know, McLean left me, but
You know,
but I'm pretty rooted. I have my daughter here, so we're just, we're here. So
Beantown forever.
for life.
For life, city of champs. So, what's interesting with how you grew up, I remember like growing up in the city of Boston, majority of us grew up in like single parent households. Like I grew up with a single mom. Like I think you were the one of maybe two or three people that I knew who grew up within two family household. And your dad was so ever present in like our lives, like all the kids' lives, having parties at your house. Very in the city is like you either live in a house or you live in a building. Like there's no in between. Like there's no in between. And when I mean but talk about hood buildings sometimes, nicer buildings sometimes, but it's a building or a house. And you were one of the few people who had a house and we'd go to parties over there. So it's a really cool kind of childhood. This is pre, iPad era. I mean, literally my almost 2 year old, if I don't hand her iPad, it is absolute horror and terror. Okay, it's not what the
Let's call
city
that
gets
ghetto.
about.
I know we say womanhood is ghetto, but that's ghetto.
That is ghetto.
Parenting is ghetto.
Parenting is
Parenting in this stage, this generation is ghetto.
I mean, like, okay, before I lose followers, sorry, I'm not gonna make fun of y'all today. Anyway, see, I think the first time we were introduced to something like breast cancer was when my mom got sick. I didn't even know what it was. I remember overhearing my mom telling someone I have breast cancer, and I think we knew what cancer was. And I went to school and I asked one of the teachers, it was a nun, I think it was Sister Mary Teresa. I said, "What's breast cancer?" And she said, "Why do you want to know?" And I was like, "Well, my mother says she has something like that. What is it?" And then she's just like, her eyes got so wide. And she's like, "Your mother says she has breast cancer?" I was like, "Yeah, what does that mean?" And then I remember she was like, I'm going to explain it to you later, but, right now, don't worry about it. And I was like,
Because
"Okay."
remember, this was 1995.
Yes.
So it was like,
Yeah.
breast cancer looked quite different
It was
back then.
so different back then. It's literally what
Yeah,
almost a death sentence. And
for sure.
yeah, and then I just remember my mom wasn't mad at me that I asked the teacher, and she was explaining that she has to go to have surgery, and then she needed to she's gonna be sick for a little while. And I'm thinking like a cold. Like, what do you mean sick? And I just didn't understand it until I saw it later. You know what I mean? Um, like I remember being in the hospital and my cousin Gregory was there and I was just so confused. I was just like, why does someone who have a cold need to be in the hospital? You know what I mean? He said it's different. I found out later as an adult, my mom had a whole will, savings account, who I was going to go live with afterwards, if I was going to stay in Boston, because, I'm originally from New York, and which family member I was going to stay with. I think she even had a conversation with my dad, and that shut that shit down. So, like, it
She
was like,
even relayed that to my parents. Like
she
they kind
did.
of had conversations about what this looks like and what life
Hmm.
after this may look like, whether it's good or bad. So
Right. And I think I
yeah,
stayed with you for a week while
you
she
did.
had her surgery and started to recover, maybe about a week or maybe even two. While she
That's
started to,
exciting.
yeah, try to kind of go through the surgery and all this stuff. And she did not have a double mastectomy then. And, um, and I just remember they try to normalize it as much as possible. Like,
Yeah.
I did not know how serious it was until, like, she started to like lose her hair. And I'm like, my mom was never a wig type of lady, and she would just get so hot. I think one day I came home from school, I saw her throw the wig across the room.
It'd be like that. It'd be like that. Never mind that. Sometimes while driving, I'm just like, I just cannot. I just cannot. I don't care who sees me right now.
So it'd be a lot. It'd be a lot. And I'm like, I just, I looking back, I can appreciate it because then I'd have been panicked. And then the more and more I learned about it and I saw how different things got for us, how weak and how small she got. And it was just this phase of confusion and everybody was really kind of nice to me. But I think it was just a process of she's about to possibly lose her mom. I think at the time, two of our friends did lose their moms.
Yeah.
And I still was unaware that I could have been in that boat, but I just had a sick mom. Anyway, fast forward, my mom got better. She had her ups and downs throughout the years, and a lot of it, I feel like she tried to protect me from it, even as an adult when she would go and
Mhm.
have other procedures. And I remember how anxious she would be to have a mammogram because I know she had a tumor in one, and then she had breast cancer in the other one, and then she had a tumor again when I was in high school, but it was so small that
Mhm.
she took it out, and it's just like it, that was embedded in me since I was a child. Let's fast forward to 2015. So 2015, like damn near what, 20 years later, um you called me for your birthday, and we hadn't talked for a while.
Yeah, life was life then.
Life was life was life, and girl.
Mhm.
And I remember I was turning 31, and I was mad at life because of how did this happen? And that was when I thought I was old.
Right. It's like, what? We're 40. How? We're 21.
Right? What's happening? So I remember you called me for my birthday, and I was like, let's catch up. And you were like, what's going on with you? Blah blah blah. And I was telling you, it was like, yo, I had third miscarriage, and I'm like, I'm just kind of starting over, single girl life, trying to get my
Mhm.
film career off the ground, blah blah blah. And that's when you dropped the bomb. Let's talk
Yeah.
about that bomb.
I remember, and mind you, I had treatment that morning. So and it was one of the harder ones that are so debilitating. I'm telling you, like you were so fatigued. You can see the bathroom right here, like 2 feet away.
Hmm.
And I have to go. And I'm just like, I can't even move. I can't even get up. So I remember I was sitting on the front porch, like an old lady, just, sitting on the rocking chair, just the wind was going by and we were talking and it felt so good. It felt so normal, it felt so human in that moment. And, it was just us using. It was just us being us. And it just felt safe and I felt vulnerable. And usually I have a way of telling people because I was on a disclosing tour. I was, was just ready to tell, everybody and get the reactions. And I just kind of told you in that moment, I don't even know how I said it. It was such a blur, but I remember I was just like, yeah, girl, I have something to tell you. So I have breast cancer. And, um, you were just shocked. You were just like, what? I mean, well, you tell me, what was your reaction? What was your immediate, because this is not foreign to you. You know breast cancer, the ins and out of it. So
Right. And
how did, yeah.
I think when you told me, I was in so much shock. I was so shocked. And I remember, like, I immediately started crying, but tried to hide it. And you were like, don't stop crying, bitch. And I was like, I'm crying because I'm 31 and single and I don't have a future.
That's us. Guys, that's us. That's us.
I was like, I don't have a man. I don't have money. I'm poor. Like, this is a mess.
All of the above.
Oh, you love. That's why I'm crying. And you were like, it's okay. This what's really ridiculous. I felt like you had to comfort me.
All my life, people. Where's my camera? All my life.
So,
You know, I you know, I think you can attest to this. I'm a natural optimist. You know what I mean?
yeah.
I don't have to dig too deep to be positive or to find a good space. I live by the mantra like no matter what you're feeling right now, it's temporary. And so I never not once thought that I was not going to be okay. And I don't know if it's just my like just an annoying level of just naiveness or I just truly embody all things good. But I just was, I remember my attitude was just like, girl,
I
these
remember
double
that.
D's are gonna go. They are just holding me down. I remember my breast cancer walk. My team name was Cha Cha got new tatas. Like I'm gonna
Yeah.
get new breasts. They're gonna be perky, and I was just excited to just get past that. And I at the time when I told you I already had no, I didn't have my mastectomy yet. No, I was in treatment. So
Yeah.
we did treatment. So I had the diagnosis, and then I had then we did the treatment plan was just then to have about like 4 to 5 rounds of chemo,
Yeah.
and then after that they were gonna go in to do the mastectomy and kind of see, see how I responded to the targeted medicine. And
Hmm.
so I was in the middle of that hard stuff, and so I was just excited just to get past that and just
Yeah.
just raise my toddler. So
Right. Speaking
yeah,
of toddler, baby Ella at the time, she's not a baby no more.
you know, she's a
She's
grown ass woman.
she is gorgeous. Oh my gosh, she's like a little model, beautiful. But back then, how old was she? Was she like 3, 4?
She was 2.5.
2.5.
Yeah.
She's an itty
When
bitty.
I was diagnosed in July of 2015, so she was about 2.5, but she turned 3, about 2.5. She turned 3 in October.
Yeah.
So
So I'm pretty sure you didn't go into details of what you were going through, but with her, did she notice anything? Because you know, kids are just so observant and they have no filter.
but
Mine,
children are feelers. Energy is transferable. So
yeah,
that's how they know when you're sad. That's when they know they calm you or give you something like a gift or you know,
yeah,
and they just feel it. She was just always a good kid. She was always positive. She was always like she's still my love and light. Like she just radiates that. And I'm so proud of her. I'm so proud to be her mom and that she chose me.
yeah.
But no, she didn't notice anything, and I try to keep, the day to day really normal. I would still walk her to her daycare that was down the street at the time when we were living.
Mm-hmm.
But I do remember when I shaved my head.
Yeah.
I do remember when I shaved my head because, it's just falling out in clumps. You're looking fucking crazy. And I'm just like, just shave it. Like, let's just speed this process up.
Yeah.
And I want to know how I look bald. And I look like my dad. So, so I shaved my head and I was so worried because I thought she was going to be scared or run away or not want to come with me or hide behind her teacher. And I went to pick her up and she walked outside and she just looked at me and she was just like, Mommy, I love it. And then she was just like, I want to shave mine too. Like, in her baby babble, but I understood what she was saying. And I was just like, and the teacher looked at me because, they could tell that this was not an elective hairstyle. Like I wasn't being fashioned for it. They could tell like, oh, okay, Ella's mom is sick. Okay,
Yeah.
okay. And they just kind of nod and they looked at me and they were just like, we'll talk. And I'm like, yeah, we'll talk. We'll talk.
Yeah.
So, but no, but she was great. She was great.
What's amazing is your family is tight knitted.
Yeah.
Like tight. Yeah, y'all were tight since we were kids. Like your parents tight, brother tight. How did they take the news?
Well, my father passed.
Yeah.
So my father passed in 2013 of renal cancer. But again, there were no genetic ties. He was older. He was in his pretty late 70s. And it just age,
Yeah.
natural. And then so it's my mom. My mom's a tough cookie, mom.
Yeah.
She didn't want to come back to Boston, so after I graduated college, my parents relocated to Florida, and they just stayed there. That was their retirement. And my mom didn't want to come back. She was and I understood. She was so set up. And during the time of my father's sickness, she got even closer to God. They both did. And she's just dedicated her life to prayer, as the Haitian way.
Yeah.
And she's just I think I probably got some of my strength and optimism from her because, since day one, I told her I found something. Maybe we should talk about that. Maybe we should talk about how I found it.
Yeah. How did you find? Yeah. Because that's not something you look for at 30. 30,
No.
because they tell us to, by 40. And so, again, to me, at the time with 30 something, I think I had a depression for the whole year. I was 29. I was like, it's over for me. But no one, you don't think about, well, I just need to start paying attention to health wise. You were 30.
31.
31. Yeah. And that's still very young. So how did you find out?
It was so weird. So like I said, my father passed in 2013. And I'll bring this back full circle, but I want to say that. And I was just laying on the couch watching Shark Tank. I remember it. I remember what I was wearing. I remember where Ella was. I remember everything. I was watching Shark Tank. And then I just had this incredible urge to just do a self breast exam. Mm-hmm. Mind you, I know what it looks like. We've seen enough charts and videos and, to know what it looks like. But who is actually doing that unless, they need to, or that you're just hyper aware that they have cancer within their family, riddled through their family, and that they know to do it.
Yeah.
I took the BRCA, genetic testing, and I don't have the BRCA gene. So this is not in my family at all, this type of cancer.
Yeah.
So again, I had this unbelievable urge to just do the exam.
Yeah.
And do it right. Like I knew what I was doing.
Yeah.
I was like, what? Like I knew that like the sizing and I just knew what to feel for. Yeah. It was so wild. And then I found it. And mind you, I was like a double D. So I had pretty dense tissue too. And I think I was menstruating at the time because even my oncologist was just like, how did you find this? How did you find this lump? because it was like really embedded, really dense.
Mm-hmm.
And I found it, and I think because I was menstruating, the tissue became even more dense, so it like protruded a little bit, so I was able to find it. But I felt something, and then I had my partner at the time feel it, and he was like, "Yeah, something's there," but
You won't
you
think it's
just
breast
kind of
cancer.
like, this
Right.
is not real. This is me. Like what?
Yeah.
This is not. And mind you, I know cancer exists. Hello, I just lost my father, but I was just like, oh, what? But I did start. I did get emotional. I did get upset, and I think as I was putting Ella to bed in her crib, and I did get upset, and I was just like, ugh. So then I called my OB, who I'm very close with,
Yeah.
and she did an exam. She was just like, because I think my period had passed by then, so the tissue went back to like normal. And she's like, and I was literally walking out her office. And then that's when she was just like, well, let's schedule some imaging. Let's schedule a mammogram just in case. Because I left with her saying, I'm not worried. And I said, well, if you're not worried, I'm not worried. And I said, I'm glad we checked this out. All right, bye. And she was just like, let's do some imaging. And even then, I procrastinated like work and like Ella, and I was just procrastinating. It was my mother who just kept saying, please schedule this. Please schedule this. Do this now. And she would call. She was relentless. Calling me all day. Schedule, schedule. I said, okay, 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 okay. I scheduled it, and they kept me. They said we're gonna do. They did a what was it? They did a mammogram, and then they wanted to do an ultrasound the same day.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was like, all right. And then after the ultrasound, they said, we want to do a biopsy. This is all the same day.
Yeah.
And then finally, I had a human reaction. And I remember Ella was in camp. And I still laugh because I was just like, I started like ripping things off. And I was just like, I gotta go pick up my kid. Like, I gotta go. I gotta go. I gotta go. I gotta go. And I went to the parking garage and I remember I sat there and I said, what am I doing? What am I doing? And I called them and I said, can I come back inside? They said, you know what? Take a breath. I'm back. I'm back in like 3 days.
Okay.
And I came back. Stop me if I'm going too far.
No, girl. If you don't tell the story.
Okay. So,
I'm getting teary eyed, but I'm still fabulous.
so I came back for the biopsy. Now, mind you, I did the mammogram, I did the imaging, and now this is the biopsy. I'm nervous because I never had any major surgery, any type of invasive procedure. And this is
Right.
like a big ass needle about to go through like all these layers of skin and tissue.
Right.
I was like, what the hell? And they know. They know what they're looking at. They know what they see. They're not allowed to tell you anything, right? But they know. Because, they were just eerily gentle
Mm-hmm.
and eerily like she like kind of like held me, and it wasn't because I was scared of the needle, but she kind of held me because it was like this was the beginning of my story. This was the beginning of my cancer journey. So I think she was just like super gentle and holding me. And then she was like, "Oh, you mentioned your daughter. You want to talk about her?" And immediately, I was just like crying. I was just like, "No, no, no, we're not doing that. Let's just get this done. Let's just get this done." And they took the sample, and then I remember I told my OB, I said, "I want you to call me. I want you to tell me. I don't want some admin to call me and like give me some news delivered so cold, and like I'm just a medical record number. Like I want you to call me."
Yeah.
And she called me. And she called me and she said, "I'm so, so sorry." And that was it.
Oh man. Oh.
Yeah.
Oh God. It. And I want y'all to know, like, this still should not make you be afraid to get a mammogram,
No.
because this is it's so deep to me. Like, I went through it. Just we'll talk about it in a minute. But I remember when I had to get a mammogram. It was back in 2021, because I get mine since I was 30 early. I had gotten the BRCA gene checked, all this. I think I called you, and then I
No.
had dense tissue. They said that they made me come back, and back then it was after COVID, so everybody wore a mask. I couldn't see their face. I'm only telling this story because I'm emotional and I don't want to burst out crying, so I'm gonna make everybody laugh at my ridiculousness. The lady came out because I had to go back twice, so I had to go to another place, and then she's like, I fell to my knees and started screaming because I
This is
thought
so on brand. This is so on brand for you. Like, I don't even know what to say.
I said, why didn't you just tell me? I'm screaming. And another nurse came out and she's like, what's wrong? I just wanted to tell you everything was fine. I was just like, well, I couldn't see your face because we all have masks on and I was on the floor. So I just wanted
You
y'all
don't have
to
to tell me. I knew you were on the floor.
I
Like, I just know you. I know you're on the floor. Ridiculous.
I I say this so there's two ways you can get this. I gotta commend your doctor for standing by you because I don't think there's enough doctors that are like that. And that's what divides our community with doctors.
Yeah,
The
for
fact that
sure.
she went out of her way to call you and say, I'm sorry. Like, but also, you ain't in this by yourself. We are going to get through this. Not
Yeah.
get over it, not ignore it, but get through this together. And her calling you, I applaud her
On a Saturday.
on a Saturday, probably even her
Yeah.
day off. I applaud her because I can't say a lot of doctors do that. I wish they would because I
Yeah.
fully understand they have a lot of patience. But for something like this, even her gut instinct to be like, let's just do, we'll do a mammogram. You know what I mean? Like, let's just, let's just double check. Because how many times have we heard the doctor was dismissive?
All the time. And I was 31. I shouldn't even be qualified for like another almost 10 years. So,
Right.
um, yeah, it was wild. But even then, even though, but so, well, immediately everything starts going really fast, right? They
Yeah.
want to get you in and they want for you to meet your team. And it's a hefty day. They tell you it's a long day and to bring someone very close with you because you need emotional support. And as soon as I went with my brother,
Yeah.
and as soon as I walked in, the lady who was doing the biopsy, she was sitting in the waiting room waiting for me because because like I said, they know. And as soon as I walked in, I saw her and I said, "Oh, hi," and she just opened her arms and she hugged me, and that's I broke down. I broke down. My brother broke down, and it was a hard day. But it's important. You meet your radiologist, you meet your surgeon, you meet your oncologist, you meet your nursing team,
I just
you
really want to
see,
quick to talk about her
yeah,
brother, Eddie. First of all, him breaking down, he is like 6'5".
I think 6'6",
He is
yeah,
tall,
40 pounds. Yeah,
tall dude, and he's like
it's stoic.
yeah,
It's stoic.
yes, he's a no nonsense type of dude. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like he's just like yo, focus. And when we went on the breast cancer walk, I wanted to quit because I was like, Charlene tricked me. I thought this would take like 15 minutes. What you mean we got to walk 10 miles? And then he was like, as I said, I'm calling Uber. He was like, we're gonna finish the smack, and I'm like,
he's so serious. That's why we joke and call him Mr. Volmar because
yeah.
he's just like a dad, somebody's uncle. Where it's like, oh, Mr. Volmar's here.
Yeah, and I can't imagine him breaking down. I can't. I feel like
It's
he'd
very
walk in
hard
there
for
like we're
me.
gonna get through this. Let's go. Who's the team? Let's go. But he's still human.
So human. He said he was, saying, oh, she's a mom and this should be me, and he was just saying wild shit. But
Yeah,
he was feeling, and it was just so emotional because now it has a face, it has a name,
yeah.
it's clinically diagnosed. So I ended up being clinically diagnosed with stage 3 invasive carcinoma that had ductal and lobular like features. So that kind of that it was event. So that ultimately means it's advanced cancer that developed in the lining of my milk ducts. So yeah.
Oh,
So and also it fed off of estrogen and this protein called HER2. So to me, that's just all. When do you get the most surge of estrogen? Is when you're pregnant, and it's in my
yeah,
milk ducts with milk production. So I said, all right. So this had to have developed within the last 2 years because my daughter was 2. So, um, and thankfully, as you know, breast cancer is not rare.
yeah.
It's wildly researched and funded. So
Mm-hmm.
there was targeted medicine for my type of cancer that fed off of estrogen and HER2.
Okay.
And so I started treatment immediately on that chemo. And then I had about, like I said, 4 or 5 rounds. And so when it was time to do the mastectomy, and I opted for a bilateral mastectomy. I had options.
Yeah,
Do you want to just take this is my right breast? Do you want to just take the right breast? Do you want to, and I just said, take them both. I don't want to deal with this. I don't
yeah,
want this to come back when I'm 60 or 70. I don't want to like just keep looking over my shoulder. Just take them all. I don't care.
yeah.
Because it also spreads to my lymph nodes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And as we know, that's how it can kind of travel through your lymphatic system. That's how it travels,
Yeah.
and then this metastasizes and becomes stage four. It attaches to your major organs, your
Yeah.
liver, your kidney, and that's when it's everywhere, and it's hard to treat then. So it was it was pretty serious. Now when you think about it,
How
you
long did it
know,
take you to make the decision to have the double mastectomy?
oh, like a day.
Yeah. It's really,
Well,
I commend you for doing that. I wish my mom did that.
I don't know. We talk about that, but and
Yeah.
I'm glad you're touching on that because we're women, right?
Yeah.
And part of being women is to hold a lot of standard to beauty and vanity,
Right.
right?
Right.
And I had this one person. Ugh, I didn't mean to say ugh. Cut that out. But I was I was friends with this one person, and I remember she said, "You're so lucky that you're in a relationship while making this decision." Kind of insinuating that I don't have to deal with the qualms of like explaining to like potential lovers or suitors why I have no breasts.
Right.
And I was just like, huh? And I'm thinking, I didn't even talk, we didn't even talk about it. It was just automatic, like life, like hello, life. Like
Yeah.
what are your optimum chances of survival?
Yeah.
And I was just like, okay, girl, like you sound cooked, but okay. And
Really quick, I will say, and you and I've had this conversation because I always said, like, when I'm done birthing, my GYN knows the same thing, because she said, regardless of you not having the BRCA gene, that's okay. I still have a higher percentage rate, and we
sure.
talked about like post birth, like what we do with the breasts, and even hysterectomy, things like that. I have told while I was dating, like, what would I would tell a man, like, I have a higher risk for breast cancer. To avoid this and to see my grandchildren, I would I'd probably, by the time I'm in my 40s, like, not have boobs anymore. And I grew up with boobs. Like, I
We know.
had titties since like sixth, seventh grade.
Yeah, you did.
And and look, them bad boys. Anyway, and I never saw a man be like, "How dare you?"
And good for you for even like telling potential dates that because it's
Yeah.
not even on the table until you're in your 40s, right?
Yeah. Because
Um,
I'm not playing with my health. I've seen it. And then, like, particularly the choice was decided, like, with you as well. And I'm like, well, yeah, this is something that you should know. Even when I had to tell a guy, like, I had reproductive syndrome, I may not have children. Like, I'm gonna let this all. Let me see who the fuck you are now. You know what I
yes.
mean? Before I block
Yeah,
you.
show me the cards now.
Yeah.
But because there's options. You can have reconstruction,
Yeah.
you can get implants, you can get something called like a deep flap like reconstruction where they take a good sized portion of fat, usually your tummy, and then they put it, or whatever. Like it's called like what they call it? Not the mommy makeover, but I forgot what it's called. But
Yeah. But there's
they were like, when
options.
you're done having children, you can have this like tummy tug. You can just, boop, 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 boop. And I didn't even, and I didn't know if I was done with childbearing. So I said, well, obviously I'll do that after the last kid.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm pretty much done. I was 12 and I'm just like, whatever. But
She said, I'm not hitting
I,
reset.
what you say?
You said, I'm not hitting reset.
We're good. We live a good life, and I just turned 40 and I'm just like, I'm pretty much, I'm sure I'm done. But even now, I don't feel inclined to like look into that hefty elective surgery.
Yeah, yeah,
It's like a 12-hour something surgery to for what?
yeah. Exactly.
Like I've gone almost 10 years without it.
Yeah.
And I've been dating. You know what I'm saying? So it's
Yeah.
just like we good over here.
Yeah, we get over here. Okay. So let's circle this back with the family. Did your mom, did she come up to help do the treatments and stuff like that?
Oh yeah, yeah. Once we had that big, exhausting, emotional day, um, they set up a plan. So it's like your treatment starts now, then this day we're gonna have the surgery, and then this is what your 18-month plan looks like. Um, Thankfully, I just stopped working at this awful job that I did not care for, and my brother really stepped in, and they were just like, you know what, we gotta hyper focus on you just getting better. So they started to kind of like assess like what are the monthly expenses, like what are and just kind of help you out. But luckily, I responded to treatment really well. So I was just doing, things at home. I have a background in event planning, so
Yeah.
I was doing parties. You know, if I had to Uber, I Ubered. Like, I was still up and at it.
So
So
you had did you
they were very, huh?
you had to let go of your job?
I did let go of my job. Sorry, I think my 1 second.
Okay.
My laptop's about to die. No,
Should have charged it. How dare you?
you should have been on time.
Hey, can you get my coffee? It's right up
Okay. Um, it was just all coincidental, like the timing. I remember I was just like, "Fuck this job," and and I just was so unhappy. And then I just started this master plan of what I was going to do. I remember I got this gym membership. I remember I was just like, "This is my year. This is my year." I was in therapy. Like I was just like really trying to elevate to be my best self. And then like 3 weeks later, I was diagnosed. I know life was life then. So, but no, family was great. Obviously, mom came up with all of her Haitian remedies,
there. Of course.
all of her, just in my space.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, moms do that. They will always do that. I just,
Yeah,
that year, I remember when you told me, I was like, tell me what you need. And you were like, yo, Mac, I'm good. I was like, because I had to have a myomectomy because I normally come home for Christmas.
yeah,
And I usually fly up to Boston, but I had to have a myomectomy that year to get rid of this fibroid.
yeah.
And I was like, I can come see you before you like, yo, I said I'm good.
I don't. First of all, I don't talk like that.
I'm sorry.
And
She said, I'm good in her Boston accent.
well, I said, don't worry. I said, don't make this like a stressor.
Yeah.
I'm here. I'm always gonna be here. So it's like, just come see me when you see me. I'm
Yeah.
chilling on the rocking chair on the front porch.
Chilling.
you know, and I make light of it. But you really just gotta take it one day at a time.
Yeah.
Like I said, this suffering, whether the outcome was gonna be good or bad, this suffering or this moment is all temporary.
Yeah.
So I just told the team, I said, just like, don't think anything is too hard. Just let me have it. Let me have it. I can't leave this little girl motherless.
Yeah.
I gotta be okay. And I remember I asked her, I just said, am I gonna be okay? Like, be honest with me. Do I have to start writing cards and letters? Like, let me, like, for this child that might not know who I remember, like, she won't remember me. She was 2.
Yeah.
And you said it. They can't tell you you're gonna be okay. I mean, I'm sure at that moment they didn't know if I was gonna be okay.
Yeah.
But they just said, "We'll get you through this. We'll get you through this."
Yeah. How many years was treatment?
About 2. So the interesting thing is, like I told you, I started the treatment, the chemo. I did 4 rounds before the surgery. Then I had the surgery, and I did like I told you, bilateral mastectomy. And then, when the breast tissue went back to pathology, I remember they called me, I think Thanksgiving morning, and they said, "Great news. We did the pathology. We looked at all the tissues, and we took everything. Everything was successful. And I remember them saying there's no evidence of disease." So I left that operating table essentially in remission.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Wow.
that's why I'm saying like targeted treatment is such a blessing because it literally went in there and it just abolished those cancerous cells. Abolished.
So you said targeting treatment. So is that like chemo?
Yeah, chemo. So my cancer fed off of estrogen too.
Yeah.
Excuse me, estrogen and HER2. So they had chemo targeted, like
Got it.
specific to attack cancer that fed off of estrogen and HER2. So it works. It's hard because you can have targeted treatment, but you don't know how you're going to respond to it. We all know cancer is very smart,
Yeah.
especially when it comes back the second or third or fourth time around. Like it just kind of like is able to just have a mind of its own. And you hear like horror stories. I think they're horror stories of people who have triple negative, which is mean like they have cancer. They have cancers that have no receptors. I think I'm saying that right.
Mm-hmm.
And so they don't have targeted medicine. So they're just trying to just use chemo and see what works, see what will attack the cancer.
Wow.
So I had targeted medicine. So I was very blessed, that it worked, and I haven't had chemo since.
Oh, wow. And
Yeah.
you've been cancer free. Wow.
Yeah.
For, let me see here, like 7, 8 years?
Oh no, it'll be 10 years in July.
It'll be 10. That's right, 2015. Yeah. Oh, God. It's been 10 years since I was, well, yeah, because I'll be 41. All right. you know, I'm really glad you broke this down because, like, I don't think, again, this is not something that you know.
Yeah.
I've learned from different phases, like from breast cancer throughout my whole life, and like what's deadly, what's not deadly, and like um how a mastectomy is effective and how sometimes the treatment doesn't always work. I remember when I was a kid, my mom came into the room. It was after school, so um she told me I'm cancer free. And I was like, you're
Ah,
never gonna get it again. She's like, she goes, we don't know that, but right now I'm cancer free. She would go to her doctor's appointments. She had to have like myectomy, I think, not myectomy, I'm sorry, a breast exam like twice a year,
uh-huh.
just to make sure. And she was cancer free for 21 years.
Yeah.
And just like that, in her 60s, I'm getting ready to shoot my first like feature film. And then she called me. She's like, I have something to tell you. And I was like, what? And she's like, the breast cancer came back. I think she could have told me I ate a frog. And I was like, how? It went all the way back to when I was a kid. And I was like thinking maybe eighth, ninth grade or something like that. Like I was really young when she's like, I'm cancer free. And I'm just like, this is impossible. She's like, no, it's possible. She did say it was so tiny.
I remember that.
And
You
they were
told me
like, but because it came back, they're like, we have to take the boobs. She still didn't want to. I said, Mom, who you gonna show your boobs to?
that.
She's
That's so,
just,
it's how we're conditioned to feel. Like, a lot of women they opt not to do it, you know?
and I'm not saying that you should. I talk about longevity of life a lot. Like, what are we like? How long do you want to live? What are we doing to keep ourselves very healthy? My grandmother had breast cancer, never met her grandkids. My mother unfortunately passed away, never met her grandchild.
Yeah.
I am breaking that. A part of my affirmations is I break the generational curse of breast cancer. I break the generational curse of dementia. I say that because like for a long time it was scaring me. I
Yeah.
I just even before the 3D mammogram, I met a lady. Um, shout out to Deb. She was just like, she's a real
Yeah.
spiritual lady. She goes, what is fear in you? I'm like, I don't know this woman now. She started touching my breast. She's like, do you think something's gonna happen to this? I was like,
Oh, shit.
this was this summer. I was like, and I still carry the fear. I still carry the fear. But she said, but you're active. She said, this is not gonna have to be you. Whatever happened back then, it doesn't have to be you, but because I'm proactive about it. I do
Yeah.
check my boobs every time. I make sure I get my mammograms. My
Yeah.
doctor and I have a plan. My spouse knows, you know what, one day these will be gone, and he's okay with that. And even if he wasn't, oh well. Like, you know what I mean?
Life, life. We have to think about
It's
life and longevity
longevity
and
of life.
survival.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And when you have a kid, like it changes everything.
This is everything.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh, okay, yeah, I guess I should have talked to him, but you good with this, right?
Right.
And if they're not, then we have bigger issues.
Yeah, exactly. And like I said, I commend you at the young age of 31 to be like, there's no doubt one day, yeah, wrap this up because I ain't gonna deal with this again. You know what I mean? And then you still take care of yourself. You eat right, like you watch your sugar. And what was that like transitioning? Well, I mean, because you've always pretty healthy, but like making sure
Why
that
am I
you
so
were,
fat?
huh?
Why am I so fat?
Why am I so
Can
fat? But we could have been fatter. We could have been fatter.
I tell you? Can I tell you? That was the one thing. I was just like, oh, okay. Because you watch like cancer patients in movies and stuff. This is so horrible, guys. I have to be honest. I was like, word, I'm going to drop like 50, 70 pounds. Like this chemo is going to just, no, no. All I was bald.
I hate that.
I was so mad. I was just like, I couldn't like lose this tummy real quick. Like,
So y'all just going, so
y'all just gonna make me bald and fat now? Like, awful. And then my
Bald.
skin was awful. It was just awful.
your skin actually wasn't though. Like you've always had
Yes,
good
it
skin.
was.
You've never had a
Yes, it
pimple a day in
was.
your life.
You know what? You're a fucking lie. I'm gonna send you a picture from 2015. It was just, I can't say it in English. Like, glah. Like, it just was textured, uneven. I didn't look like myself. I didn't
Yeah,
look like myself.
but it didn't
Fingernails were
last
falling
long.
off, eyebrows gone, eyelashes gone. I looked crazy,
But
but
you still had
I'm
a
alive.
natural beauty about you, though. Like, when I saw you, I think within the next year, I was like, you look good. You feel like, I mean, I always look good. and, but I don't think it, like I said, I think sometimes it's in the inner beauty just outshines that.
I appreciate that. I mean, like I said, I just never. I think I had two big breakdowns,
Yeah.
two big ones. I think it was that day that I had to meet the team, and I think it was like a week after when it was really like, I was being poked and prodded
Yeah.
like every other day, and it was just always like I lived in the hospital, and I was just like, is this my new life? Like, am I a sick person? Like,
Right. That's a good
and I'm so
question.
young, so I do have to go like the next. And then I thought about the what ifs, like what if I don't make it? Like the reality of it all started hitting me. I remember I just in the car and I just like lost my mind. And I said, all right, that was it. Warrior mode. Let's
Yeah.
go. Strap up. Let's go.
Okay. So what does your new normal look like post treatment? What did it look like? Did you
I'm
change your
happy.
diet like drastically? Um
You got to be careful when you have a debilitating moment, whether it's sickness, disease, or whatever, because it can manifest other things like it can elevate other things like the type of chemo I was on kind of puts you in congestive heart failure mode. So I had to watch my heart, and therefore I had to watch my cholesterol and anything and everything that affects the heart. So I was just like on a little bit of a heart medication at the time.
mhm.
Or you're on a steroid, and it can make you gain weight. And if you're prone to diabetes, it could kickstart that. And again, I'm not a doctor, so please, if I'm misspeaking, I'm sorry, but this is what I just noticed that you got to be careful what other elements can manifest
Yeah.
um, post anything really, but in this case, my cancer. So and it comes with age too. We're 40 now, so it's like we're hyper aware of our
Yeah.
water intake. We're
Yeah.
hyper aware of what that one extra lychee martini is going to do to you on a Tuesday night. We are hyper aware of when we're not taking care of ourselves.
Yeah.
So I think that's a blessing because like last night, we went trick or treating and I saw, I love Twizzlers. And
Yeah.
I was like, oh my God, I want a Twizzler. Oh my God, as I was checking her candy. And I was like, bitch, it's 10 o'clock. Like, you can't have this sugar.
I know it. I did have a Snickers last night at 10 o'clock though.
No, we know.
It was one though. It was a little mini.
But this morning I had the Twizzler. I was like, all right, new goals, new sugar,
Start at
new numbers.
0.
I was like, it's at 0. Let me. So, so short answer is just, post health post cancer now, what life looks like now is very intentional.
Yeah.
It's very intentional and it's very, I don't know, aware. And
Okay.
so I'm in a good place.
That's
I'm in a
good.
good place.
That's good.
I feel good. I feel like I probably maybe look the best I've ever looked. I feel like, I'm just very intentional with just every aspect of me.
Yeah.
And I think it also radiates. I think people notice. People have been telling me, and I feel good. Yeah.
So, what would you tell women who are first diagnosed with breast cancer? What advice would you give them?
Allow yourself to feel all the feels. I mean, you're going to go through the motions, but I know I said this a couple of times, but just, understand that what you're feeling right this very second is temporary.
Yeah. That's good.
It's going to be okay.
Yeah.
Even if it doesn't end up being the results you want, it's still going to be okay. Like this too shall pass. Like, and I know it sounds a little morbid. I mean, but it's like, what if, I wasn't here, guess what? She still would have been thriving. She still would have been here. She would have had everybody that loved me, loved her. So while it's not what I wanted, everything was gonna be okay. I remember when my father passed, um, he said, I'm not scared of dying, I'm just sad about leaving you guys. But he said that that's why I want to bring it back full circle. He said that I will I'm trying to get this right. He said, but I will protect you guys in a way that I couldn't while I was here.
Yeah.
And I believe that. And I know for a fact that my father helped me find that love.
Yeah.
For a fact. There ain't no Mackley, there ain't no way. I'm just like, it's just, and I felt an overwhelming need to do that.
Yeah.
And so
and it's such
so I say that like it's gonna be okay.
Yeah.
But of course you're not, you don't want to hear that in the moment of things. But I just, my advice is just allow yourself to feel, trust your intuition. Don't let these doctors just tell you just anything and everything. You have to really trust your team and feel good about the appointment and the information that they're giving you, and ask questions. Understand, I work in healthcare, I work in pharma. So understand your disease state. Do your own research.
Yeah.
Like, yes, they threw all these big medical jargons at you, but do the research. Like, what is invasive carcinoma at third staging? Like, what does that look like? What are the survival rates? What does that mean for African Americans? What does that mean for African Americans in our 30s? Like, just do the work and ask the right questions.
Ask more questions. Be your healthcare advocate. And and then post cancer, I'm like post cancer. One thing about my mom, she actually did well. Like I think her first round of cancer was, she's just so secretive, and I was so young, so I can't remember it. But post cancer, how to take care of your body is also really critical. I feel like you would automatically know to go into that. But and I'm glad you mentioned like being aware of other things that it could have affected.
Yeah.
And learning and feeling okay with learning more about how to take care of your body. I think that's really, really critical. And to moms who have children, or even if you don't, like, you know what I mean, and just have a close family, I think that circle is important. Because I think a lot of times, like I think for my mom, she was embarrassed. Like she was really embarrassed. She didn't want to tell a lot of people, so she absolutely had to. So I think it was down to last minute. Like, all right, look, this is what's going on. What would you say what advice would you have given my mom?
There's so many environmental factors, right? Because again, we're talking about like 1995, 1996, right?
Yeah.
Way different from 2015. And 2015 is way different from 2024 today. So, I definitely would have told her it's okay to feel this way. You were valid. Your feelings are validated. But what's important to you? And then of course her answer would have been Maclean.
Yeah.
And I said, so what are we gonna do? So what we gotta do?
Yeah.
And make her feel empowered through that decision. I think feeling empowered and still feel, going through a debilitating disease like that, you kind of feel helpless. You kind of feel like a victim.
Yeah.
And you have to kind of try to find your power and reclaim, your who you are, your bad bitchness. Like, you have to be like, you know what? This is just a moment. I'm still cute. I'm still this. I'm still smart. Right. I'm still enough. I'm still everything. Like, this is me. And this does not define me. Like, breast cancer doesn't define me. It's just something that happened. And I love to talk about it because I don't want another young person, another young mom to go through any of that and not feel, or just feel helpless.
Yeah. Yeah. How would you have liked people to have supported you? Because I know we talked about sometimes people kind of drop out when you're going through things. They kind of pull away. And it could be for multiple reasons. They don't know how to support. It's too close. Someone like myself, I was just always like, tell me what you need. Tell me what you need. Like, do you need me I don't have money, but like I can send you something from the Dollar Tree. Like, say what you want. I ain't got no limits there.
You know what? I know you should have sent me like a Black American Express card. I would have been like, okay,
I'd have to
girl.
steal it
But
from a rich man, but it's cool. I could do that.
um, you know me, I'm easy. I never wallowed in what I was going through because I truly just took it one day at a time. Like some days were rough and I would just be in bed all day. Some days were fine and I would go for a walk or just be on the phone or have people over. Um, and it's true what they say. You have two types of people. You do have, or maybe three. You have just people who just don't change. They're just who they are. They still love you the same. They still interact with you the same amount of interaction that they were doing. Nothing's really changed. And then you have people who think that you're now your caretaker or your nurse,
Yeah.
and they check in and they're like, "You okay? You okay? You okay? You okay?" And then you have people, and I don't understand this phenomenon. I don't know if they're empaths, where they kind of take it on, and they're now depressed, and now they don't want to be around you. I don't know, or they just want to be so far removed from like this devastation that they just stop being your friend. I don't understand the phenomenon, but I can acknowledge that does happen, where you have people who were once close with you just don't know how to be around you, even though you don't change, even though I was still the same old C, same old me. They just don't know how to be around you. What do you mean? You're bald. Oh, okay. But mind you, I'm still outside. I'm just like, in fact, I would even say, do you mind if I don't wear this wig? Because I am menopausal right now. So I'm going to sweat. So I don't know. So to bring it all back, how would I have liked people to support me? I would just prefer everyone to just be the same.
Yeah.
Maybe with a little extra more love, like maybe instead of talking every like once or twice a month, because now we're older, we're adulting, we have kids. Maybe 4 times a month. I don't know. But I wanted you guys to be the same. And for the most part, the people who are still here today are the same. So, yeah.
Well, that's important. I always talk about what people need and how to support someone. What I don't like is when someone supports you how they think you should be supported. Well, this is what I would want, but it's not about you, boo boo. Like,
there's love languages in everything. And how do you receive support? How do you receive love? How do you receive care? And maybe some people need to sit down like, okay, thank you for caring. This is how I need you to show up for me. Maybe it's as black and white as like telling people what you need from them.
Yeah. And it's some grievances in some of that too, because when people distance themselves, it's multiple reasons. Like you said, that they might feel something, they're confused.
It's on them.
Yeah. And
be thankful. You don't want that energy. You don't want that weakness around you.
Yeah.
Because if someone who was really your friend and with you through years and years of friendship, and all of a sudden they just can't handle it, it's okay if you can't handle it, but you can't communicate that. You can't just say, "I love you. I'm going to pray for you, and I know you're going to be okay. I just can't handle this. I feel stressed. I feel anxious. I'm palpitating. Like I can't." And then I would understand.
Right.
But again, I don't even know if it was that person's truth. Like I don't know. So
I saw who showed up for my mom. Like your parents showed up for my mom. My cousin's family that was in Boston, the Du Boises, in case they're watching. Hi Greg. They showed up for my mom. Like Paulette showed up for my mom. Like you know what I mean. I saw, and I did see how she even. I think she changed churches. She became Baptist. She's definitely the whole dedicating your life to God, Haitian household. You know how that is.
And I want to interject right there because that's important, especially for mom's generation, because being Haitian or even of any Caribbean descent, it's very taboo to talk in depth or in detail about your sickness.
Yeah.
Like even like my parents' friends who, have to come visit you or call you because now I'm sick, they wouldn't even say the word. They couldn't even say cancer.
Yeah.
They're just like, "Oh, Aisha, well, come on, yeah, how you doing? Oh, okay. And that was it.
Yeah.
They don't want to. And then here I am just like trying to educate and be like, yep. And then I have my next follow-up and then I have my next treatment. They just get uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So for Sonia, for your moms, for Sonia to have all that support in that culture at that time.
Yeah.
Those were her people. Those were
Yeah.
her tribe.
It really was. And, at the end, for my mom, when the cancer returned, she had the double mastectomy. And
Mm-hmm.
then I remember she said, "Well, I don't have to do chemo." I said, "Well," I was like, "Well, they want it was a whole process." I had to start to explain to her. Fortunately, she had gotten dementia like within a year. I
Mm-hmm.
always felt like God gave her dementia because the cancer had spread throughout her body, and it was like, I think, stage 4. Like, by the time we found out stage 4, she had like maybe a month and a half to go.
I
And
remember.
I remember when I first called you and I said, yeah, I don't know, like, it's cancer, and it's came back, and like, this is like post your recovery. And I was like,
Yeah, it was
I
what,
it's
2017?
2017, yeah, so it was like 2 years, almost to the date, actually. And
Mm-hmm.
then you were like, "Yo, don't panic," and you came to see me in the hospital, and I was just like, I was so stressed because I felt like I was gonna go back to 6th grade. And you were like, "This is different, Mac. You have a different community." I was just like, "Man, I need to move her to Georgia." And you were like, "Her doctors are here." I was like, "Do I need to move here?" You said, "No, you have a community here." And I remember you were so strong, and I still thank you for that, because I'm just like, you're still going through your own stuff. And you were like, "It is going to be fine." Because
Mm-hmm.
now I'm not the little girl from 6th grade,
Mm-hmm.
and I have a little bit more control. And then my mother couldn't stand that I was now in charge of her. and and it's just like, and I remember I called you. I was like, "Yo, spread," and you were like, "What?" And I said, "I'm gonna come get her, and she's gonna basically spend the rest of her time with me." And I remember I went to Georgia, and I was like, "Okay, I'm gonna go get my mom," and you were like, "You did everything you could." And and I get really emotional about this, because sometimes I'm like, yo, I go back to like back then. I wish she would have had the double mastectomy, but my mom's concern was always me, that I was her
Mm-hmm.
entire world.
Mm-hmm.
And the last few things that she said to me was, "I know you're gonna be okay now."
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, she said, and then I put in her casket, it was a picture of me on your bed. I was on your bed. She always kept that in her bedroom when I was like, I think, a teenager, and I put that in the casket.
I remember that picture.
Yeah.
I remember that picture.
and it's
Yeah.
and it's just, I know the process. And I remember you kept saying to me, like, you show up for her, you how you can, and know that you've done your best. So I say to people, like, when someone they're very close to is sick like that, whether
Mm-hmm.
it's really serious or minor, or like, you do your best. Because it took me a while to kind of like forgive myself. And I just remember when I was like, "Yo, like, she only has like a month, Shay," you were like, "And you do your best in the next month, like you've been doing." And then,
Yeah, create memories, and
yeah,
it's like I'm glad you're saying all this, because it's like I said, irregardless of the outcome,
yeah,
whether it's good or bad, this moment, this suffering, all this is temporary, and
yeah,
it's like you can't double back and just say I should have could have done this. It was already written.
yeah,
It was already written. Like, she wasn't supposed to have that mastectomy back then. She, all, and I know we talk about your fertility struggles, and like I said, our parents from beyond, like in the spirit world, they're still protecting us, looking out for us. There's without a doubt that you have your beautiful baby because
yeah,
your mother was holding her
yeah,
before she came to you.
right.
She was. That's what I'm saying. Like, all this was written. We can't just get wrapped up in the, oh, what were you going to do at age 11, 12? Tell your mother to get a mastectomy?
Right. She
We
wasn't
didn't
gonna
even
listen.
smoke mastectomy.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. It's just like, don't get wrapped up in the nuances of just like, oh my God, what should I have done? Or did I do enough? You did everything that was supposed to happen
Yeah.
happened.
Yeah. I do want to wrap it up by because I know she's gonna talk shit later. Sister Erica, because I remember I called after my mom died, and then she was like, "Your journey with this is over too." She said, "I feel like you've been holding your breath since you were 11." And she said, when Charlene got sick, I noticed you got so distant from people. And I was just like, but not you
Did
though.
you?
I did. You know what? I was scared. I was really scared because I remember I called her and I think I was like a bit emotional. I was like, yo, I don't know what to do. You were like, are you gonna go? She said, then go to Boston, become a doctor, and then you do the surgery yourself. And I was,
There's a reason why you and your sisters act alike and look alike. That like y'all just too much.
I
That sounds like something she would say.
she could have been more supportive, but I was just like, I really don't know what to do. She goes, I don't think she asked you to do anything. I was like, but I need to do something. She's like, oh, that's what she's like. Then go to get your medical degree. And it's just like you can't do nothing, but just be there. And
Be there.
yeah,
And be yourself. No gimmicks, no facades.
yeah,
Just be my friend or be the best daughter. Like you did everything.
yeah,
That's hard doing it from another state. And then entrusting people to kind of help you when you're not there. And
yeah,
having your own tribe. She had her tribe
yeah,
back in 95, 96, and now you have your tribe, which essentially became her new tribe. And
yeah,
you know,
yeah,
but like I said, it was written, and regardless of the outcome, whether it's good or bad, it's temporary and it's gonna be okay. I'm not saying that it doesn't hurt because I know you miss your mom every single day. I know you do.
oh, that's
It's like I miss my dad every single day.
yeah,
But she's with you, and I know people are just like, "What do you mean she's with you?" No, she's with you. She's with
yeah,
you. She embodies her like through the baby. Like Ella never really. Ella, my father held Ella when she was about 5 months. Like he passed when Ella was 5 months. But you couldn't tell her about. You could not tell her that she does not know her Papa Angel.
yeah,
You know what I mean? She knows him.
yeah,
She knows. That's what I'm saying. We can keep that alive. We can.
yeah.
Make sure that they embody all the goodness that was their grandmother and their grandfather. So yeah, no.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for sharing your story. I really hope y'all. I will put her IG at the bottom, so if you need to DM her, ask her questions, or share a story with her, drop in the comments, or just reach out to Shay. She's cool. I promise you, because it's my girl. So I do again, Shay. I thank you so much for sharing your story. It's super inspiring. I love you, of course, and I know you're such a busy woman. She's out here making that money. Hey.
So broke. I live in the most expensive state in the nation.
Oh, shout out to Massachusetts.
It's awful. Like the most expensive state. So please send me. I'll put my Venmo. Pin my Venmo right there.
Gotcha. But yes, thank you so much for joining us on the Womanhood is Ghetto podcast, because this is ghetto.
Extremely. Everything that involves, including parenting, these kids are ghetto too. Like just in relationships, sorry, but the men are ghetto. Everything is ghetto. Everything that has to deal with this is ghetto.
Oh my gosh, it's wow. Thank you again, boo boo. Everybody else, thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. And wellness and love to all of you. Uni Mac.